Good morning. Today we're going to be painting tulips. I think it would make a very nice Mother's Day gift. It's just going to be a one-day project. So this is a sample of what we're going to be drawing out and then painting. So what you'll need for this project will be a Sharpie marker, a pencil, an eraser. I've got watercolor paints. We're going to be using oil pastel. So you'll need a cup of water, a nice round brush, and I have a piece of 7 by 10 mixed media paper. So this is the goal for today, so that maybe you could give it as a Mother's Day gift, which I think would be really lovely. All right, this is also a watercolor painting that I did quite a long time ago of a tulip. And I just found this great card that I had been saving because I just love the image of this photograph of the tulip. So, okay. So we are going to be doing a bit of a smaller version than the one that I have here. So we will, excuse me, we'll need a pencil to draw it out first. I'm going to use a marker so you'll be able to see it better. And I'm going to use a Sharpie. So instead of a Sharpie, I would recommend use a pencil and then go over it with Sharpie when you're done. So you could, if you wanted to get in a blossom and an open tulip and maybe part of the leaves and stems on your project. So we're going to start to the side to draw our bloom, and we're going to tilt it just a little bit, and we're going to make what looks like a teardrop shape. So you're going to kind of come out with a curved line, curve under, and go right up to form a point where you started. And you're going to draw kind of a wobbly line going through the center of your teardrop shape. And then right at the very base of that, you're going to draw a curved line, another curved line following it, a little wider at the top, and then take it all the way down to the bottom of your paper. And then we're just going to do part of a leaf. And then again, take that right down to the very bottom of your paper. So you can see, let's see, let me just move this. All right. Now for the open tulip, we're going to find the space right over to your left side, and you can make it taller than the bloom if you want. And it's going to look like a nice kind of U shape. So you're going to make a curved line and go right up off to the side, so it's much wider at the top than it is at the base. And at the end of that line that you just finished, you're going to kind of take a wobbly line and find the center of this curve that we've already drawn out. And then you're going to go to the other side, and we're going to do again another wobbly line, but it's going to meet that center line. So it looks like an upside, it looks like a Y when you look at the shape. And then we're going to go back to the side of this petal, and we're going to draw another petal because there's some overlapping going on here. And you're going to take it right to the other side. So every line is touching. The first line touches this, the first part of this line touches this petal on the right, and then it moves over to the left side. And then at the top, you're going to go to the side of that petal that you just finished, and you're going to make a curvy line going right to the side petal. All right, and then to draw right at the bottom in the center. You're going to draw another stem, a little bit wider at the top, and then you're going to take that all the way down to the bottom of your paper, and then we're going to make a nice kind of curly leaf. We're going to kind of curve out. Okay, so we want to show that this leaf is twisted slightly. So we're going to go at the end of that curved line, and you're going to kind of go up and then take it right into that line, and then continue and curve out and take it right down to the bottom of your paper. So you can see this shows the twist in the leaf. So now you've got the tulips drawn out, and you can paint your tulips any color that you'd like. You can notice in this example I've got complementary colors actually. I've got yellow, and then for the background I've got purple, which makes each color, you know, pop. And then I've added a little bit of oil pastel to show some of the other coloration in the flowers and also in the stems and leaves. So if you're aiming to do a different color, say you want to do pink for your tulips, that's fine, or yellow, orange, red tulips, any of those would be perfect. So I think for this, I'm going to do, let me get my brush. I'm going to do a, I think I'm going to do a pink tulip. So for the background, you could either do purple or you could do a slightly deeper pink color. So let me see what this is. You might want to use your color to test first, or I could change my mind and I might want to do yellow and not have complementary color with the background. So it's really a judgment call. It's up to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this all in pink. You might, you know, try to find out what your mom's favorite color is and then go from there. So you may want to do the same color family in pinks, but slightly darker pink for the background and a lighter pink for the flowers. Oh, so many ideas that you could use. So I'm just going to paint my background. I think I'm going to stop for a minute, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to use my rag and dry my brush, make sure it's clean, and I'm going to start adding a lighter pink to my flowers, and I want that to dry so that I can add my oil pastel. So that's why I stopped doing my background. I want to see how this looks right next to each other. Very, very light pink. It's pretty. You could combine a couple of pinks if you wanted to. Maybe do one coat in a lighter pink and go in with a slightly deeper pink. You may want to test it on a test sheet before you try out your colors. That's always a good idea. Okay, and you can let that dry, or you can kind of just play with another layer of pink. Maybe deepen the color a little bit. Okay, very subtle. Now I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna let that dry, and I'm gonna go back to my background. Now if you wanted the color to be even darker, of course, adding another layer of color would be a good idea. Of course, you can turn your paper in different directions so it's easier to access that space. As you can see, I'm not getting the paint super wet. I want it to be a nice bright color. You could also use tempera paints for this if you wanted. That would be fine. My tempera palette, I don't have as many in that cake palette that I have. I don't have as many variety of colors to choose from, so that's why I went with this particular medium, because I have so many nice colors to choose from. Now I'm going to take a quick break from the background. My water's not that bad, so I don't think I need to run and get fresh water right now. As you can see, it's not very thick. It's just very lightly colored. So I think sometimes we tend to change our water too often, which takes away from the painting time. So I'm going to do my stems in a light green first, and then I'll be adding my darker green shadows. So what area you're counting on drawing quicker, paint that area first and then work on another area while it's drying. And then you can go back in and do your magic. So I'm painting all of the stem and leaves in the light green. Make sure you get all the little white areas. You don't want to leave any white showing. It doesn't look complete if you do. Make sure that your strokes are even and it's not clumpy. Okay. And then I'm gonna go in with a darker green. And I'm just gonna add the darker green to the side of my stem, same side. I'm doing the left side. And I'm working while the light green is still wet. It'll bleed out just a little bit, but not much. And so you see how we've got a slightly darker section. Go a little bit underneath your flower, and then the lighter. And then with my darker, I'm going to be doing the right side of, or the left side, I'm sorry, of my leaf. So you can see how it's a very subtle transition. I'm still working while it's still slightly wet. And then I'm gonna be adding on the other leaf. Let me move this up so you can see it. So the goal is to have subtle transition from light and dark, or in this case, anyway. Okay, and then if there's any area that's still very wet, you can kind of paint that out and use your tissue or your rag. I'm going to go back to my background. If your brush gets too wet, just dip it on the rag just to get the extra moisture absorbed into or taken out of your painting. And you see when it's really wet, it's much lighter. And be careful painting near the areas that might still be a little damp. You could give it a few minutes and let it dry first. And then go back in and paint the background. Use the tip of your brush to get into those very hard places to reach, or you can switch to a much skinnier brush. Nice long strokes. Be careful, make sure that your other hand is not in the way. Okay, and then just kind of look at your background, see if there are any areas that need to be kind of worked on a little bit more. Kind of blend out your color. Maybe go back in some areas that look lighter. So you have a nice even background. It's worth taking the extra time and not rushing. And just enjoy the painting process. Okay, so when all of your painting is dry, and that includes the tulip itself, then you can get out your oil pastel, and you can use a similar color. Make sure that your pastel is clean. I just rub it off on my rag, because my rag gets washed weekly. And then you can start adding just a little bit of the details. Test it, see how it looks. This is good. It's very subtle. And I'm just going to add a little bit of color to just some sections of my tulip, not all of it. I want to go in and kind of give it a little bit more depth. So as you can see, I'm just adding a little bit of the very slightly darker color with my pastel. I'm being careful with how I'm holding it, so I'm not dragging my wrist onto my background. Okay, and you just want it simple. You don't want to have it too overworked. And nice, very simple, very sweet. Would make a lovely gift. I'm sure that that special person in your life has been a mom to you, or a mom would love this. Okay. And if you wanted to add a little bit to your leaves, but I'm really happy with the way it turned out. It's very simple, very, very nice, and anything done by hand is a wonderful gift to give because it comes from your heart, and I'm sure she'll love it. Okay, thank you, and I'll see you next week.